Hey, howdy! So today I just watched an Amazon Prime original movie, and I feel like this is the first time ever I've either watched an Amazon Prime movie or made a review of it. So here we go.
Modern Movie Review.
Okay, so right off the bat, before I actually start talking about the movie, I want to just go ahead and say the next couple of months, my movie reviews are going to be very scarce and compared to how much I usually do, because a lot of the movies coming out in September, November, October, whatever the months that are currently going on are mostly horror movies, and I am a chicken shit, so I don't go see horror movies in theaters, whatever. So for all of the current movies that I'm going to be reviewing, they're kind of going to be like this, where they're on streaming services. So you might not have heard of them, you might have heard of them, but not had a clue of what they are. So I just want to go ahead and give that disclaimer and be straight up about it. I'm watching this movie now. I'm going to be watching a couple that come out on Paramount Plus and stuff like that the upcoming weeks. So I just wanted to go ahead and say that. But now to dive right into this video, I saw this movie. Every month at the beginning of the month, I go and I write down a list of all the movies that are coming out, streaming service, theaters, whatever. And this one was one of the ones that was on my radar, but I read the name and I was like, that doesn't seem super duper interesting in me. I was going to research it, but I never did. And the other day I was watching The Boys, and it was one of the pop-up things up top. And I was looking at it, I'm like, it seems kind of interesting, but part of the thing that was turning me off was it said romance and comedy were two of the main themes for it. And to me, I see those two genres, and I think a lot of rom-coms aren't that great, but I like to give rom-coms a chance. So I was like, you know what? I'm not doing anything right now. I'm going to throw it on. Let's see how this is. And oh my God. So I'm going to go to give a spoiler warning. If you don't know the story behind this movie, because this is based off of a true story, and you're wanting to go into this movie completely having no idea what's going to happen, stop now. Trust me, it's much better if you don't see whatever happens coming. So like I said, if you want to go watch the movie, you can pause this, put it on a watch later playlist or something, and come back to it later. But go watch the movie, because I do not want to spoil what happens in it. But oh my God, this movie was really good. So right off the bat, so like I said, I was expecting a rom-com. I wasn't expecting something super crazy or over the top. This was a lot of fun. Obviously, when we first started, the first act or whatever is a lot of just simple young adults living in LA, trying to make a living for themselves, trying to make a name for themselves. You're seeing a bunch of people in an office landscape where they have different jobs, and they're, obviously trying to kiss up to their boss and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely nice little comedy show. Something that I'm gonna go and right off the bat say, this movie to me feels a lot like an old Freeform show called Chasing Life. In that show, there's three female best friends that all have very different personalities, and they're all working inside of one office building and stuff like that. And a lot of the comedy that happens in this movie feels very similar to that. A lot of the drama that happens in this movie feels very similar to that, and especially because of stuff that happens a little later down the line. But right off the bat, we kind of get to see our main characters in their niches. So one of them is very outgoing. She's an assistant for the main expensive, popular lady who works at this company. And she's very outgoing. She's very cool. We like her. And then there's another character who's her best friend, who just happens to work in the same building as a little male lady. She's very nervous, very introverted. They go to party after work or whatever, and she goes out and she's just not going to drink. She immediately goes home because she needs to study. And there we go. We have our two main characters, and their kind of opposites and differences. And one thing that we learn about the more socially awkward character is that she loves baking. She's very passionate about it. And, she whenever people mention something about baking and stuff like that, she gets way too excited, and she shares all of this information that nobody really understands. And I liked it because they did a great job of portraying how it feels to have something that you're passionate about. Like me, I'm passionate about all my Marvel stuff, and talk about it when you get really excited and accidentally overshare information to people who really don't care. And I felt very seen in that moment, because she started talking about baking. She's just well, actually, I substituted this ingredient with this ingredient, and then I have to do this, and then if you get these muffin pans, and then you flip them upside down. And she started going off and speaking way too much about things that the person was clearly just trying to be nice and make conversation, and they did not know that they were sending this lady down a rabbit hole. But that was portrayed really well. I really liked that character. That character was really good in this. For both the main female actresses in this movie, this is the first thing I've ever seen them in, and they were both really good. So I will definitely be checking out more movies that they're in. What's it called? I did technically just lie. One of the main actresses, I can't pronounce her name, so I'm going to put it up on the screen. Earlier this year, she was in the Peter Pan and Wendy movie as Tinkerbell, and that movie was terrible, the Peter Pan and Wendy movie, but in her defense, she doesn't talk in it, so it's not her fault. But this movie to me, I think, was really elevated by the acting a lot. A lot of the times there was like some comedic scenes that was happening between the two main characters or whatever, and there were some like dramatic scenes that were happening between the two main characters. If you're just listening to the dialogue, it's very like baseline, like these two people are friends and they're in an argument. But the way that they time it out, the way that they bounce off of each other, probably their directing as well really helped with this. They rose tension insanely well, and there was a lot of emotional sequences in this. I actually almost cried at the end of this movie because it was a very heartbreaking ending. So to dive right into what happens, the main character who's more outgoing, she gets cancer and she has this brain tumor and she's having to go to a lot of treatments, but she doesn't want to put her life on pause because she has this disease, which I think is a very like, I want to say is a very like inspirational type thing. I can't think of a better word to say, but it's very like something you can like admire about a person is that they're kind of going through a situation where it kind of seems like everything is kind of lost, all hope is lost, but they still want to just go out and enjoy life. It's very optimistic, and I really, really like that. Living life to the fullest is a very important life lesson to kind of have. If you're ever like doing something and you feel like, you know, there's more you can be doing, try to do more. Like something that I really like is there's oftentimes a lot of like internet stuff will blow up where people are like, oh my god, live your life to the fullest, you got to do this, you got to do that. And there's a lot of like cool things about making sure that you're not wasting your life. And I think that this movie does a great job showing this person was basically told that they only have a certain amount of time to live, and she didn't want to put her life on hold because she didn't think that there was going to be anything at the end of the tunnel. And so they continue doing their little thing that they're doing, which I haven't mentioned apparently. Yeah, I just realized that I haven't gotten to that part of the plot. But basically, friend who really enjoys cooking is very socially awkward, doesn't really talk to people, doesn't get out much. And then the outgoing friend is like, well, you love to cook. You're really great at cooking. Why don't you, like, start cooking for people? And what happens is they go out together for her birthday or whatever. She brings a cake, and she has it at the bar. And, oh, my God, we get a cameo from one of my favorite TikTokers. His name is Petey. He's absolutely hilarious. He's fantastic. I'm going to quickly throw up, like, just a quick, like, bit of one of his comedy things. Because even if you, like, don't like follow him on TikTok, he's a guy on TikTok who you would probably recognize. So I'm gonna throw that clip up.
Naturally. So I stood up and said, hey Tamara, look at this. She didn't like it? Not at all. She wagged her finger at me and now I have to talk to HR tomorrow. Maybe she doesn't like elephants.
He is so ridiculously funny, and I love that man so much. But he's like perfectly perfected the like awkward comedy, and he makes a cameo in this movie or whatever, and he like starts talking about how like that's amazing cake, and he says a line that like 100% he had to have ad-libbed because there's no way someone wrote that into a script for him, about like something, and he's like, this cake tastes like something and something had sex in my mouth or something. And he's so funny. This movie, it has a lot of humor in it. Like the two main actresses, like I said, they bounce off of each other really well, and there's a lot of sequences where they're just hilarious, and they get drunk at bars, so obviously there's a lot of like drunk sequences as well that are pretty fun and entertaining. I think that there's a lot to love about this movie. I think that this movie is a great movie, and like I said, if you like freeform, like anything like I'm thinking not Pretty Little Liars, I feel like that's probably a bad example, but a lot of the freeform movies like Chasing Life and stuff like that, it feels a lot like that. It feels like that plus like, I don't know, it's just very comedic, and I really enjoyed it. Overall, I thought that the acting in this movie was great. What's his name? Ron Livingston is in this, which you might not know. Like, I don't think he's as much of a big name as I thought he was, but he's a very like comedic actor, and he can also do a lot of like really serious things. He plays Barry Allen's dad in the Flash movie that just came out. He is great in this. There's a lot of really emotional sequences where him and then the more socially awkward friend or whatever are like having like conversations about like what's going to happen and how they don't know how to like deal with their friend slash daughter having this cancer, and like there's a lot of emotional sequences with that. It's a very heavy movie, and I don't know, I feel like this movie though did a great job showing like a celebration of life, how like just because something is very sad doesn't mean you have to like be fully upset about it. Like I like the whole sequence of like after the character passes away or whatever tragically from her disease, they have like a funeral type thing, but it's more of just like a party and gathering celebrating her life, and it's a very nice little wholesome moment, and I really like it. And yeah, overall I think this movie was great. I think it had really high highs. For the most part, it kept me like interested the entire time. It was a really solid movie. Felt very what's it called? Sometimes when you're watching streaming movies, they feel very low budget. This to me felt like very professional and like kind of like a high budget film, and I really liked it. I'm gonna give this movie a solid 81 out of 100. I thought it was incredibly solid, very emotional. A lot of the music selection in this was great. The young adults kind of like coming into like their own in a sense in this movie were really, really good. I liked it. I really would recommend it to anybody who has Amazon Prime, because I know a lot of people will have Amazon Prime just so they get free shipping and they don't actually use the Amazon Prime, like, what's it called, streaming service. Amazon Prime's got some good movies, and I would definitely say this is one of them. But yeah, that was it for this video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and thank you guys so much for watching. I will hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Pow, pow, pow.
He wanted me to trouble first, I did this. We planned a day, and then we did this. Wanna be in love with the girls with the kisses. Don't give a damn, I'll rid this. I like this when I run the distance. I run to find pay your ballistics. I wanna live within the business. Buy more than what's on the clearances. You're getting big because I know you're a physicist. I wanna deny this shit, I'm unlimited.